2016, I'm living in New York, and I just got there. I get put on this deal. Huge business. I went out to their mines and stuff. It was unbelievable. And they bought, a couple of years earlier, they bought a big mining company in Australia. Did it all with debt. It was like a full leverage buyout. And from the day the transaction closed, pretty much, if you look at the charts, the met coal prices just went down and down and down and down and down. And so they bought this like multi-billion-dollar asset, fully leveraged. You got to pay back the debt. And this thing is just sinking cash and sinking cash and sinking cash. And it was dragging the whole operation down with it. This thing that they bought down here in Australia was just sucking so much cash that it was just pulling the whole business down. Anyway, we get engaged by Citibank. We're their business advisors, and we're working with them, and we're working with the company and trying to figure out the plan of attack. Anyway, this thing tips into a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. You know, this starts to get pretty hairy. It's a shitload of jobs on the line, right? Like, I don't know, it'd be north of 10,000, I would imagine. It's a lot of people, pretty high stakes stuff. So they end up in bankruptcy. And for anyone that's got any finance, the American capital markets are just fucking wild. It's just a playground. My God, it's crazy. You've got these capital structures with, like, there was a couple of banks that lent the debt to the company, and then there was all of these bond houses. So you've got hedge funds in there. Then you've got all of the different equity tranches, and this capital structure is like this long, right? And then what happens in America when a company goes into bankruptcy is every one of those parties goes and hires three types of people. They hire a lawyer, they hire an investment banker, and they hire a business advisor. So very quickly, this thing is ripping like millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of fees a month, and it's getting really, really crazy, right? And without going into the specifics of it, what was essentially happening was the valuation of the business was worth about half of the total debt. And so as a blend, the debt was trading at about 50 cents on the dollar, right? There's different tranches of debt, and it depends. And some of them was trading more and some of it was less. But essentially, let's say they had $8 billion of debt. The market was valuing the company at about $4 billion, which meant that pretty much everyone if you're at the top of the capital structure, you're probably okay. If you're halfway down, you're probably about halfway underwater. And if you're at the bottom, you're fucked. If you were in the equity, you're fucked. Everyone was fighting over who owns what. So what happens in these complicated financial situations is that you've got these massive legal documents that say this person has security over this person has security over this person has security over this. Very similar to your house when you get a mortgage from the bank, right? But just way more complicated because you've got all different entities, you've got all different borrowers, you've got equities trying to get a piece of the pie, you've got different assets in different countries and all this kind of crazy shit. And everyone was trying to be like, no. I don't own Australia. Like, that's not my shit. The thing that's burning money, I have no attachment to that. My assets are in the US, and nobody wanted it, right? Everyone was like, hands off. And the debt's just trading lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. Anyway, we get about 6-7 months into this process, and I come into the office one day, and China's just announced that they're reducing their own coal production by 1 day a week. Right, so they went from 6 days to 5 days, or 7 days down to 6 days. Anyway, what that did was it quickly reduced the amount of coal on the market, and then all of a sudden, Australia is very close to China, geographically. All of a sudden, people needed coal out of Australia, and so the coal prices fucking skyrocket overnight, right? And legitimately, in 1 day. And this is where the point of the story comes into about how quick things can turn around. In 1 day, everyone went from being like 50 cents underwater on every dollar of debt that they had on this business to we got them out whole plus extra. They ended up getting like 105 cents in 1 fucking day. And this is to the tune of billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. Now, nobody could have controlled that. That's the Chinese government probably deciding we're going to change coal production, and everything shifts, right? Everyone went from not wanting Australia to everyone wanted Australia in 1 day. And I always come back to this story when things are challenging, because this online business game is such a fine line between agony and ecstasy. You can be one idea, one ad, one funnel, one pitch, one contact, one Zoom call away from $1 million, if not millions of dollars. The first program that I launched in 2020 did $1 million in its first year. I had the idea heading to the airport, leaving Greece, and I pinged Jamie and I was like, hey, dude, I got an idea. We launched it like a month later. I made $1 million the next year. That's how quick shit, because of the leverage of the internet and media and ads, if you have an idea, it can change things so quickly. And so this is why you just got to stay in the game sometimes, right? Because you're not always going to have all those amazing ideas. Things aren't always going to be going perfectly. But if you can stay in the game, if you can keep swinging, if you can keep posting content, if you keep making offers, you just never know who's going to see your ad, right? You never know who is going to end up on a Zoom call with you. And one of those contacts, one of those customers, one of those clients can lead to pretty amazing things if you keep an open mind around it. So that's just a little story for anyone and we all go through it, self-included. Anyone that's feeling the pinch, it's hard. Yeah, it is. And it should be, because otherwise everyone would be doing it, right? But just remember, things can change quickly. Sometimes it'll be in your control and sometimes it won't be. But if you stay in the game, that's the only way that you're going to give yourself the chance to enjoy the fruits when they do swing. And it always swings. It always swings back. Okay. So that was my little story. I got plenty more from those days. It was some pretty crazy shit we did. But this was a bankrupt company with 3 private jets. We took a private jet out to Wyoming, flew into St. Louis, got on the private jet, went up to the mines. And then as we were leaving to fly back to New York in this jet, fucking guy from Domino's drives out onto the tarmac to drop off our pizzas for our flight back to New York. A bankrupt company, 3 private jets. It always blew my mind. The Australian financial markets are very different. We're much more risk adverse down here. We have much more stricter regulations on our directors for them borrowing money that they can't pay, and it's a different world. But anyway, that's my little story for today. Hopefully that gives someone some ammo to keep throwing punches.